collecting has to have an emotional meaning to me. Part of it is the detective story of tracking it all down. I've collected impressionistic art. I've collected samurai swords, silver coins from Greece. I have some antiquities, have some sculpture, and I've collected wine. See my wine bathroom? A bathroom is generally a bathroom, but I thought it'd be more fun to make it interesting. So we put wine crates here, wine labels, corks on the ceiling, and then if you look over there, there are wine bottles on that wall. My secret wine opener, not wine opener, cellar opener. Come on in. I've been a little obsessive about buying wine in the past. I have in total 43,000 bottles with super fine wines. You could taste the love the vintner had in making it. And that to me is almost a religious experience. You know, we collectors like precious things. Love is extremely precious. What price can you put on the love of your wife? What price? Well, if you're getting divorced, you can't, but here's one bottle of Jefferson wine, 1787 Lafitte THJ. I'll set it down on the table. We'll line them up. The reason I wanted to buy 4 bottles of Thomas Jefferson wine is very simple. The mere fact that Thomas Jefferson owned it and held it in his hand, etc., that's part of history. Here's another one, 1787 Mouton, again THJ. Look at this bottle. Isn't it beautiful in and of itself? 1737 Lafitte Chateau Rothschild. The faker didn't know his wine history very well because the Rothschilds didn't own. Unfortunately, I paid $100,000 per bottle. The Rogues Gallery.
Well, the first time I think I found a fake wine, it was because of the weight of the bottle. There was a bottle of Petrus on the back of the table, and I reached to grab it, and when I lifted it up, I almost threw it on the ceiling because it was so light. This has a 75 CL in it, yeah, but it's a 1929. Yeah. That only started with the 1930 vintage. You're looking for anomalies. Is it in the right glass? Does the cork have the right stamp? Is the cork properly aged? Is the paper correct?
Yeah, everything's pixelated here.
I wonder what the sediment in here is.
If these things have allegedly been together for the last 60 years, they need to look like it.
Oh, that is one hot mess.
If the capsule looks like hell and the label looks pristine, that doesn't work. You know, that's got a 95-year-old's face on a teenager's body.
You know, you always want to be careful with this online auctions because you never know the provenance. They just want to sell.
Really, it's hard.
Ah, a big bottle of cork, man. No, I'm just kidding. I love doing that shit, you know.
At the time, fake wine was just starting to be talked about. Rudy was quite the expert on fake wine, and when I asked him about it, he said that he'd bought so much fake wine that he'd had to become an expert on it.
No, they won't tell you the somebody's history, but sometimes if they doubt the bottle, they put the picture of it. So you be the judge. Okay. You look at the picture, you want it, you take it, you need it.
So they don't have anybody that's out there looking at conditions and...
They actually do.
Tell them about Acker auctions.
You do an audit?
No, we're live.
We're live.
We love it.
Acker is great, man. We love John.
He and John Capon were meticulously going through all of his wines to catalog everything and sell some off. John Capon was the son of a very nice family-run wine store in Manhattan.
Shopping for anything during the holidays can be simply maddening, and shopping for wine is no exception. I'm here at Acker, Merrill & Condon, the oldest wine store in America located in New York City.
Acker Merrill wasn't a big house. They were a store that got into the auction world, and then Rudy really made them.
John really turned it into a fun thing. He was the first one to break it out. It was like a giant crazy party with an auction. At the same time he was doing that, Rudy came along with this incredible seller, and they kind of helped each other.
Because if you talk to any collector, they will tell you, and I've got collectors on board.
When Rudy was drinking California Merlot, Acker Merrill Condit was in last place of all the auction houses. When Rudy sold $35 million worth of wine through Acker Merrill Condit in 2 sales in 2006, Acker Merrill became the #1 auction house in the world.
He is the CEO of Acker, Merrill & Condit. This year, he has auctioned off more than $100 million, the first wine house to do so. John Capon joining me. So you can't whine about that revenue rate. Get it, wine. John, you're going to leave now, aren't you? All right, well, it's been a pretty crazy year.
There's not much that can be said about this collection outside of the fact it is one of America's greatest. This is a collector that actually inspects his wine. To see all the magnificent wines in there, I said, man, this is a wine collector's dream. I felt like maybe I ought to buy the whole bloody cellar.
You know, the auction is a complex transaction. You get a catalog, it's 300 pages long, you have 2 weeks to make up your mind. You may win, you may not win.
They were selling massive amounts of wine. And, you know, I don't know how John could have inspected every single bottle when he's selling $30 million worth of wine.
The fakers like to fake the very hard to find, very old wines because you get them a much higher price. One night, my bulldog investigator, Brad Goldstein, found that I had just paid $25,000 for one 1921 Magnum Petrus. In 1921, Petrus made no Magnums.
You gotta go, big guy. You gotta go. You wanna go? You wanna go get mommy? Come on. Come on. Come on. Bill kept saying to me, I wanna know how deep this problem is in my cellar. Where's the Ponceaus?
Where are the Ponceaus? I don't see them. We had to find experts that knew about corks. We hired a guy who knew about labels, capsules, glass, and even looked at the glue. You know, on an 1858 bottle, we found Elmer's glue. And Elmer's glue didn't come in till sometime in the 70s. Here, see if you could spot the inconsistencies there.
You know, the more we learned, the larger the epidemic became.
I have over 400 bottles that are proven fake, for which I paid $4 million.
I think what spurred Bill on was when the auction houses told him, as they say in French, tant pis, you know, tough luck, buddy. You bought it as is, you're stuck with it.
For some reason, you know, Freud can answer why. I just hate being cheated. In the wine business, there's a code of silence. I'm not taking this.
We were fairly certain that some of the wine bottles that Bill had purchased from Acker Merrill were without a doubt counterfeit.
Let's keep it out of the way.
He tasked me with finding out the information on this Rudy Kniewan. I was given video of Rudy in early 2000 doing what was going to be a food show on wine. I almost fell out of my chair when I first saw these videos.
Dude, I just opened that bottle on Thursday. Now I feel bad. But can I refill and put the cork back?
The motivation behind the investigator is to show the elegance of the hustle.
This is the catalog of the auction April 2008 in New York, the page to present Domaine Ponceau. And when you see the pictures here, there is a 1929 Claude Laroche. Ponceau started estate bottling in 1934. So first of all, in the catalog, it was already wrong and fake. Everything here also is fake. This wax we never used. We never sold any wine to Nicolas. We never had this vintage printed outside the label here. And close underneath, close underneath, close underneath, 45, 49, 66, and 71. And we started to produce the close underneath in 1982. So, and here you have the 99 points from the expert. And the expert is GK, John Kepan. This is the auctioneer. So how can the expert be such a good expert on wine which costs $50,000 to $70,000? Because he earns 20% on it. When you find a fake wine, it's a dirt on the integrity of Burgundy. And I wanted to wash it. So 2 days later, I jumped into a plane and I flew to New York. I wanted John Kepan to withdraw everything.
The stock market is now down 21%.
Dow traders are standing there watching in amazement, and I don't blame them.
This could be the most serious recession in decades. And that means life, as most Americans know it, is about to change, in some cases dramatically.
Bear Stearns had collapsed the week before the auction. So there was some question about, you know, what was going to happen with the market. This particular auction was just a wild affair. We were all really, really buzzed on really expensive wine. Things get so raucous, halfway through the auction, you know, Capon is banging his gavel saying, "Shut the fuck up, guys." You know, I mean, this is not, you know, this is not Sotheby's.
7,000, looking for 7,500.
I happened to recognize a guy who came in and sat at the back of the room, and he was not part of the merriment. You know, he's sort of like Banquo's ghost.
Suddenly, Ponceau stood up. And there was silence. He said, "Withdraw my wines," and John and everything. John was at the podium. It was a bizarre moment.
Capon announced the entire 30-odd lots were being withdrawn.
At the end of the auction, I met Capon, and I was asking who are the owners of these wines. The next day, I met Rudy Kernawen for the first time.
And there's this bar with the swinging doors, bus gone through across the bay.
We go to Jean-Georges.
And behind the bar is the merchant with the liquefied bottles.
I had no idea of what would happen. He was just the owner of the wine, that's it. My two options was he didn't know, or he knew and he wanted to sell it, and this is not nice.
But that's
After hello and so on, I said, "Oh, look, now, you have to tell me where the wines are coming from."
he's not going to have food.
You bought these wines, you should know.
I buy a lot of wines, and
Oh, you know, we buy so many wines. I buy so many wines, said Rudy, that I don't know where they come from. I have to check.
That's why I love wines. You know, wines, you can never tell. You can never tell.
I had the idea that Rudy was doing a lot of dinners and parties, trying to have every client as a friend. So I said to myself, I'm going to do the same with him. Let him think I will become his best friend. And then he will maybe talk.
We had assembled a team of international talent. It was actually a former CIA agent. Sorry, guys. Percy, you looking for food? I got nothing for you. Percy, get out of here. We had received some information about his immigration status. This is the 2003 U.S. Department of Justice removal proceedings for Rudy. He was living in the United States with a warrant out for his arrest.
You going, have you done any trip
No.
to the wine countries?
No.
He did.
At that point in time, his student visa had run, and if he leaves the country, he'll never get back in.
You not a big traveler? You don't like traveling?
Oh, I like traveling. I love traveling.
Called putting a sugar addict in a candy store.
No, I love traveling. I love traveling.
One of the letters to Homeland Security had the name of the business that Rudy and his brothers used to obtain visas to the United States. We took that letter and we went to this location, Jalan Gajah Plaza. It's a series of small shops in Jakarta. One is like a hardware store. It's like a hardware store.
I have been insisting on emails, and he said, okay, well, I didn't find out yet, but I promise I will give you that. A month and a half later, he gave me a name. I found out I bought the wines in Jakarta, and it has been sold by Mr. Pak Hendra. This is the only information he gave me. I flew to Los Angeles, and I invited him to dinner. Again, very quickly, I asked him, now, Rudy, face to face, eyes into eyes, tell me the truth. Who is this Mr. Pak Hendra?
He's a great guy. Great. He has a great palate. Been drinking for the last 20, 30 years.
And he took his cell phone and he wrote 2 numbers in Jakarta. So I was happy. Then we had a nice dinner.
Great food, great wine, great people, great ambiance. Perfect. Can't ask for more.
The next day I tried to call the 2 numbers. One was a fax machine, and the other had no answer at all.
We had heard Rudy had just met a French vintner